Skadoosh, and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MathTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Kung Fu Panda 4. So, thanks for going on that Kung Fu journey with me as I went back through the first three films to prepare myself for the fourth film, in which, if you do so, Dustin Hoffman sounds much older in in his role as Master Shifu. So he did return. I kind of thought maybe like if they weren't returning the Furious that they also weren't returning him, but he is in this. So not everybody got written out of the movie. I watched this on Peacock where it has audio description. So kudos to the team behind this. We have more engaging voices for kids films. That's all I'll say. That's like my main thought, is that sometimes I hear people who really sound perfect for kids films and sometimes not so much. And this is kind of a narrator where and I don't want to just say that this is the only narrator that I've hammered, because it's not. I've been doing some other reviews, and I love Jedediah Barton too. I don't know who the narrator was. If I had to suspect, kind of sound a little bit like Adrian Barbeau, but maybe. Anyway, it's just we have some narrators who, even though they have like an adult voice for their adult films, they also have like a kids voice for kids films, and it just gets more engaging, I think, for the target demographic. So I would maybe go that route. I know it's like, it's accessibility, and why does it need to be that? Because it's also part of entertainment. Like, it fully shapes the product, even for a little kid. It helps bring them in. Why do you do voices? You could just read the book at bedtime. You don't need to do the voices, but let's be honest, everybody does voices. When you get to the characters, you're like, and the big bad wolf said, "Who's that?" Like, you come up with a voice for every character. So it's that. That's all it is. Y'all are voice actors. You get it. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the film. So I didn't hate it. I don't hate the film. It has good energy to it. It has a good vibe. It does not feel like the series is being like slowly drugged to death. Like, it just is like, on a funeral march to like, my God, how many of these are they gonna make? Like, I did not watch all of the Land Before Time sequels, but I have a feeling somewhere between 1 and, I don't know, 12, 21, like whatever there are, it started to feel like, why are we still doing this? We're not actually there, which is kind of amazing with Kung Fu Panda. However, for the first time, they actually came up with a plot that would have totally made sense for the Furious 5 to be in it, and they're not. This is the one film they finally wrote a script that doesn't, where they're just like, what do we do with the Furious? I don't know, we're gonna have them be Jade Warriors? We can keep Tigress. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand this. Like, finally somebody wrote a story, and this was the one movie that they didn't return them for. Because in the end, it doesn't make any sense. In the end, like, life choices, it's just like, the end kind of just was like, I know we're going here. Like, you can see it. Like, you know where it's going. And I'm like, I don't like this. This doesn't make any sense. But I appreciate it. The attempt, I guess. So we're back. We got Awkwafina joins the cast because she and Chris Pratt are, by God, gonna voice everything if humanly possible. Just to screw with your kid, have a movie marathon where it's like every character voiced by Chris Pratt, or then every character voiced by Awkwafina, and see if your kids notice. Just go from like Raya the Last Dragon to Kung Fu Panda 4, and for Chris Pratt like Mario, Lego, what else has he been in? Garfield. Just keep going through Onward. Just keep going through the Chris Pratt movies. Yeah, I wonder. It's like we keep, for some reason, going back to the same characters. Anyway, Awkwafina is here. Viola Davis plays the Chameleon, the new villain. And if you happened to be one of the unlucky few who sat through the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the one thing that you know is we already knew she's queen. Like, Viola Davis is GOAT. She loves to ham it up. When given the right role, she will absolutely get incredibly goofy and very over the top. And her voicing on this is excellent. I loved it. She was serving all over the place, just left and right. I was like, Viola Davis is having the time of her life right now. Just 1,000% Viola Davis is having more fun than anyone else in this movie. So, it definitely does not feel like a cashed paycheck. The plot is that Po is being forced by Shifu to choose the new dragon warrior, so that Po can become what Shifu is, so that Shifu can transcend. Because Dustin Hoffman sounds old. Dustin Hoffman doesn't sound like he's going to make it to Kung Fu Panda 5. Which is sad. I shouldn't have laughed. I love Dustin Hoffman. But, yeah, the age in his voice from 3 to 4 is he has a lot of it in his voice now. And so he needs Po to become him, so that there can be a new Dragon Warrior. I guess they just don't want to mess up the dynamics of the Furious, because they're like ineligible. They're like off fighting other crime. They're like, there's like some side film I'm sure we'll get with the Furious, some like 30-minute short film with the Furious and not the original actors that voiced them, that explains where the Furious were. Like what they're battling, like a Christmas, Kung Fu Panda Christmas, but it's like the Furious. I feel that's coming. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of people who have been training for the Dragon Warrior thing, and then like Po, he doesn't feel it. Like, he doesn't feel the Dragon Warrior in any way, so he like chooses himself and then delays the process, and then all of a sudden there's this fox that shows up, voiced by Awkwafina, who's stealing crap, and Po hears of the Chameleon, who's this great crime lord, and so he feels like he has to go on one last Dragon Warrior journey to stop the Chameleon. And he uses this criminal, played by Awkwafina, who has some knowledge of the underworld and the Chameleon in some of the most obvious ways that you'll pick up on, to go and take down the Chameleon, who is summoning the spirit warriors and then taking their kung fu, like stealing their kung fu. She has a way of being able to, first of all, she could look like anybody, and then like she can shapeshift into anybody, and makes people think that these warriors have come back. But then she summons the spirits and then sucks up their kung fu. So you hear some of the original voice talent, like Ian McShane is here. So it's just the two of them going on. There's no Furious to follow them. But what they do have is this adorable two dads plot, which I'm sure, because it's funny, because they're not romantically involved, but Po now has two dads, and the film has fully embraced it, and these two characters have an immense amount of screen time, and I love it. I love it. It is so adorable, because, I don't want to say even representation, because it's not what it is, but for all sorts of families where you end up having like a dad and a stepdad, or for people who were adopted and have an adopted father, but then maybe later on find out that they had a birth father that they never knew about. Maybe the birth father didn't even know about the kid. I mean, there's so many like really complicated situations and reasons why you would have this dynamic. But yeah, they're not a couple. the we kept Richard Jenkins from Kung Fu Panda 3. He's back. In addition to Lee, who's been Poe's adopted father the whole time. So they're both here, and they're worried about their little Poe. So they're running after him to help him, because he's helpless, and who's gonna make his dumplings? That's what. It's adorable. It's my favorite part of the film, actually. I love when Richard Jenkins' character, I can't remember the name of the Panda father Panda, comes in the room, and he always comes in after Poe, and he thinks that like other rooms full of people will just think that all pandas are badasses. So he just comes in, and he gives this like look, and he's like, "No, I taught my son everything I know." it's great. Seriously, it's my favorite part of the film. Like, that works for me 110%. I'd rank that at number 1. I'd rank Viola Davis having the time of her life at number 2. I'd rank Jack Black really showing up here for Poe at number 3. Like, this is a solid performance from him vocally. I didn't feel like he phoned this in at all. If anything, he still sounds like Poe. Dustin Hoffman sounds like somebody we have to figure out what to do with him before Kung Fu Panda 5. And I think that is what they're trying to do with this film, by having Poe pass the Dragon Warrior. Unfortunately, and this is a little spoilery, it's pretty obvious who he's going to pass the Dragon Warrior to by the end of the film, after everything is said and done. And I disagree with that, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, to take somebody like that, and you could say that Poe was, nothing, but Poe loved Kung Fu. You know what I'm saying? Like, Poe was all about it and dreamed about it 24/7. And Poe was also a delightful, warm human being. Not human. He wasn't a human. Panda being. And when he got chosen to be Dragon Warrior, it felt like the good guy had been chosen. So when you choose someone else who is not 100% good, but like might be and wants to be better, but isn't really, and kind of has like a life of crime behind them, hasn't really trained in Kung Fu, wasn't really thinking about Kung Fu, you know what I'm saying? Like, isn't really like in that, and meanwhile, it feels like the whole time we've been building to this moment for Tigress, because having just seen the 3 previous films, in every film, Poe always remarks specifically how badass Tigress is, and how more suited for everything she is. Even in Kung Fu Panda 3, when he is trying to find his chi and he is actually sort of accepted being, he still compliments Tigress specifically over the Furious, like more so than the other. Like, he does like the whole Furious 5, but he over compliments Tigress. I think it's a way to really bring Angelina Jolie in and make her feel like her character is worth something to the franchise, so that she continues to come back, because she's kind of grouped in with like David Cross. So, and yeah, it's anyway. So yes, I think that is kind of where we've been headed, and it's like, this is the film. This is the film, guys. This is the film for her. This should be Tigress's thing. This is what you've actually been building for. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have a criminal character that's gonna like come in and and Like, everything that you've been building, it doesn't make any sense. This makes no sense. This is like, narratively, when you think about the four films together, you're like, what just happened? But when you think about it, uh, like, the vibe, it has the Kung Fu Panda vibe. It does. I just totally, when I'm like, this is the film you chose to leave the Furious out of? They easily could have not been in three. Like, if you were gonna do that, like, that could have been all about. They didn't need to just be Jade Warriors for the whole film. Like, basically everybody again, but Tigress. Tigress has always been separated, and this could have been another film too, where there was something that happened to the other four, and then, uh, you know, Tigress is still there. Tigress is just goes on the journey with Poe, and then Poe gives it to Tigress. You know, maybe Tigress doesn't want it. Maybe Tigress is like, well, you know, I wasn't chosen the first time, so how could it be me? And then Poe's like, well, I feel like it's you. And then, bam. And then instead, the character who does, I'm trying to avoid the spoiler a little bit. It's pretty obvious what I'm talking about, but it's also really obvious where the movie's going. To be 100% honest, it's really obvious where the movie's going. So, in my ending, instead of becoming Dragon Warrior, the person who becomes Dragon Warrior in this film would then replace Tigress in the Furious. So everyone wins, and that person gets to train more on Kung Fu, potentially then leading to being the Dragon Warrior after Tigress. That is how the series should be. Because that's what when you have a narrative thread that you've been carrying for the first three films, and then you just suddenly throw it out the window because you're like, I don't know, do we have the money to bring them back? I guess not. Yeah, we're poor. We can't find the money, bring them back. Write the film that write the film that should actually happen in this franchise, so that way it's not just like, welp, I don't know what's happening here. It feels like we're somehow, getting a little shafted in terms of story, but I guess. So Kung Fu Panda 4 is okay. This has not been a great year for animation so far. I've seen a lot of animation, and this is like a little slightly above It's like more like it's none of those are actual grades. But it's it's about like where 3 is and 2. I think they're all fine. It just, none of them are 1. This is a franchise where 1 has magic and life, and then 2, 3, and 4 are all struggling to kind of put things together in various ways. But they're all kind of about the same. Here, there's a lot that they do right. There are a lot of things that are really charming and unique to this film that I enjoyed. But there are things that they also did wrong. At the end of the day, I think kids will like it. I don't think they're going to overthink it. Unless you have a kid that, worships Tigress. Has been sitting there and waiting. They're going to be like, where's Tigress? Where is she? It feels so weird. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to give Kung Fu Panda 4 a B-. Very tentatively. It's like a high B-. It's a B- plus. It's like right on that transition where you have to pull out the manual and go, is this a B or a B-? What number is this? Is this in the B range or the B-? That's where it is. It's right there. I could be generous and put this at a B, because I really did enjoy. The dads were a nice way to interpret those characters and give them something to do, and I thought it was cute. Anyway, but because they very well could have just been like at home and in the movie for like 2 seconds. Been like, hey, look, I've got dads. Hey, bye. But no, they made like a whole thing out of it, and it was great. So, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.